The morning started like any other day on Earth. People were drinking their coffee, kids were getting ready for school, and workers were heading to their offices. Nobody knew that in just a few hours, everything would change forever. High above, Earth in the cold darkness of space, something impossible was happening. The stars began to shimmer and bend like looking through water. Then, one by one, massive shapes started appearing out of nowhere. Ships. Alien ships. But these weren't the small flying saucers from old movies. These were monsters made of metal and energy, each one bigger than entire cities. Park Ji-ho was sitting in his office deep underground in Seoul when the alarm started screaming. He had been the director of Earth's defense coordination for 15 years, but he never thought this day would actually come. His coffee mug fell from his hands as he stared at the screens showing impossible readings from space. "Sir, we're getting reports from every observatory on the planet," his assistant Kim Yuna called out, her voice shaking. "There are over 800 unknown vessels in our solar system. They just appeared from nowhere." Park Ji-ho took a deep breath. His grandfather had told him stories about this day. His father had prepared him for it. Now it was his turn to face what humanity had been quietly getting ready for since the 1950s. Meanwhile, millions of miles away in space, Commander Talvex was looking down at the small blue planet with 4 glowing eyes. He was tall with grey skin that looked like stone, and he commanded the most powerful war fleet in the Kelvarian Empire. To him, Earth looked weak and helpless, just like all the other planets his empire had conquered. "Look at this pathetic world," he said to his officers, his voice deep and cruel. "They don't even have proper space defenses. This will be easier than taking candy from a child." His officers laughed, showing their sharp teeth. They had destroyed dozens of civilizations before. Earth would just be another easy victory to add to their list. Back on Earth, panic was spreading like wildfire. In New York, people were running through the streets, pointing up at the sky where strange lights could be seen even in daylight. In London, the Prime Minister was being rushed to an underground bunker. In Tokyo, families were gathering together, holding each other tight. But in that secret facility under Seoul, Director Park Ji-ho was surprisingly calm. He walked to an old metal cabinet that hadn't been opened in decades. Inside was a red phone that connected to similar phones in hidden bunkers all around the world. This was the moment his family had trained him for his entire life. "This is Director Park," he said into the phone. "Code Omega is now active. All stations respond." One by one, voices came back through the old phone system. Voices from bunkers. Under the Rocky Mountains, beneath the Sahara Desert, deep in the Amazon rainforest and hidden in the ice of Antarctica. All of them saying the same thing. "Ready and waiting, sir." The alien fleet moved closer to Earth, and Commander Talvex decided to send his usual message. It was the same message he had sent to hundreds of worlds before destroying them. Every television, radio, and cell phone on Earth suddenly started broadcasting the same terrifying message. "Attention, primitive inhabitants of the third planet. You are now property of the Kelvarian Empire. You have 48 hours to surrender completely. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of your world. This is your only warning," people screamed. Some fainted, others prayed, but Director Park Ji-ho just smiled, a cold, dangerous smile that his enemies couldn't see. He walked to the main communication console and activated a system that had been waiting silently for over 70 years. His voice was calm and steady as he sent humanity's response back into space. "Unknown vessels, this is Earth's final warning. Leave our solar system immediately, or you will face total destruction. We will not repeat this message." The message traveled through space at the speed of light, reaching the alien fleet in minutes. When Commander Talvex heard it, he started laughing so hard that tears came to his 4 eyes. "Did you hear that?" he said to his officers, slapping his knee. "These primitive creatures are threatening us. They think they can fight the mighty Kelvarian Empire with their tiny rockets and chemical weapons." All across the alien fleet, similar laughter echoed through the ships. These humans were even more foolish than they had thought. What could a species that had barely reached their own moon possibly do against 800 warships armed with weapons that could crack planets in half? But if the aliens had been paying closer attention, they might have noticed something strange. Earth's response hadn't come from any government building or military base. It had come from somewhere deep underground, from systems that their scanners couldn't even detect, and in secret facilities all around the world, things that had been sleeping for decades were slowly waking up. Commander Talvex was still chuckling about Earth's pathetic warning when he decided to show these humans what real power looked like. He had done this dance 1,000 times before with other worlds. First came the threats, then a small demonstration of destruction, and finally complete surrender. It never failed. "Captain Zorath," he called to one of his ship commanders through the communication system. "Take your destroyer and eliminate that small outpost near the large gas giant. Make it spectacular. I want these humans to see what happens when they refuse our generous offer." Captain Zorath grinned with anticipation. His ship, the Death's Edge, was perfect for this kind of work. It wasn't the biggest ship in the fleet, but its weapons could turn an entire moon into dust in seconds. On Earth, Major Lee Daeun was watching everything from the hidden orbital defense center buried 3 miles beneath the Colorado mountains. She was young for her rank, only 32, but she had been training for this moment since she was 5 years old. Her family, like many others, had been part of Earth's secret preparation for over a century. "Sir," she reported to Director Park through the secure communication line, "one of their smaller ships is breaking formation. It's heading toward Europa Station." Director Park's voice came back steady and calm. "Let them do it, Major. Our people at Europa knew this might happen. They volunteered for this mission just like their parents and grandparents did before them." Major Lee felt her heart sink. Europa Station housed 43 researchers and their families, good people who had dedicated their lives to studying Jupiter's moons. But she also knew that their sacrifice would serve a greater purpose. Sometimes you had to lose a battle to win a war. The Death's Edge moved through space like a shark swimming toward its prey. Europa Station was a small research facility orbiting Jupiter, looking completely helpless against the massive alien warship. The people inside the station knew what was coming. They had received the evacuation order hours ago, but there wasn't enough time to get everyone to safety. Dr. Choi Junho was the station commander, a quiet man who loved studying the ice formations on Jupiter's moons. He gathered his remaining crew around him in the station's main laboratory. "Friends," he said quietly, "we all knew this day might come. Our families have been preparing Earth for this moment for generations. Today, we play our part in protecting our homeworld." The crew members, scientists from all over Earth, held hands and watched through the station's windows as the alien destroyer charged its main weapon. A terrible energy began building up in the ship's forward cannon, glowing brighter and brighter until it hurt to look at directly. Back on the alien flagship, Commander Talvex was enjoying the show. "Watch carefully," he told his officers. "In a few seconds, that pathetic human outpost will be nothing but glowing particles. Then we'll see how brave these Earthlings really are." The Death's Edge fired its main cannon. A beam of pure destruction, hotter than the center of a star, reached across space and struck Europa Station. The small research facility simply vanished in a flash of brilliant light, leaving nothing behind but empty space, where 43 brave souls had been just moments before. Commander Talvex waited for the panic to begin. Usually, after a demonstration like this, planets started sending desperate messages begging for mercy. Leaders would offer to surrender everything they had just to save their people's lives. But Earth remained silent. Hours passed, and still no desperate pleas came from the blue planet. Commander Talvex began to feel annoyed. Why weren't these humans reacting the way they were supposed to? Every other species had broken down crying and begging by now. "Send another message," he ordered. "Tell them they now have only 24 hours to surrender, or we'll destroy one of their cities next." But again, Earth's response was nothing but silence. What Commander Talvex didn't know was that Earth was far from quiet. In secret facilities around the world, thousands of people were working frantically to activate systems that had been hidden for decades. Major Lee Daeun was coordinating with similar facilities on every continent. "Phoenix Base, this is Mountain Home," she spoke into her headset. "What's your status?" "Mountain Home? Phoenix Base is green across the board, came the reply from a facility hidden beneath the Australian outback. All systems are charging normally. Estimated time to full power is 6 hours. Similar reports came in from bases hidden under the Amazon rainforest, beneath the Sahara Desert, deep in the Siberian wilderness, and even from installations built into the ice of Antarctica. Humanity had spent over 2 centuries building something the aliens couldn't even imagine. Director Park Ji-ho walked through the underground corridors of his facility, past rooms filled with technology that looked like it came from a science fiction movie. His great-grandfather had started building these facilities back in 1952, right after the first UFO sightings. Every generation since then had added more, improved the designs, and prepared for this exact moment. "Sir," one of his technicians called out, "we're receiving confirmation from all lunar installations. The moon bases are fully operational and ready for your command." Park nodded. The aliens thought Earth's moon was just a dead rock. They had no idea that humanity had been hollowing it out and filling it with surprises for the past 50 years. Commander Talvex was getting impatient. These humans were taking too long to break. Maybe it was time for a stronger demonstration. Commander Talvex had finally lost his patience. These stubborn humans had ignored his warnings for too long. It was time to show them what happened when you defied the Kelvarian Empire. He gave the order that would change everything. All ships assume attack formation. Target the largest population centers on the planet. We'll give these primitives one final lesson in respect. The massive alien fleet began moving toward Earth, like a swarm of deadly metal insects. 800 warships, each bristling with weapons that could level mountains, descended toward the small blue planet that seemed so helpless and alone. But Earth had been waiting for this moment for over 70 years. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Captain Kim Minho sat in a control room that didn't exist on any official map. The facility, codenamed Deep Blue, had been built secretly inside an underwater mountain. Around him, dozens of technicians worked at consoles that glowed with soft blue light. "Sir, enemy fleet is entering the inner solar system," reported his communications officer, Lieutenant Park Sora. "All our hidden assets are in position and ready." Captain Kim took a deep breath. His grandfather had helped design this facility back in the 1960s. His father had improved the weapons systems in the 1990s. Now it was his turn to use what 3 generations of his family had built. "Signal all stations," he said quietly. "Operation Sunrise begins now." What happened next would have seemed impossible to anyone watching from space just moments before. The surface of Earth began to change. What looked like normal mountains suddenly split open along perfectly straight lines, revealing massive metal structures hidden inside. The Sahara Desert, which the aliens had scanned as nothing but empty sand, erupted as enormous gun barrels rose from underground silos that had been camouflaged for decades. In the Rocky Mountains, what appeared to be a simple ski resort suddenly transformed. The fake buildings collapsed inward, revealing a weapon platform the size of a small city. Similar transformations happened all over Earth. Golf courses, shopping malls, even entire fake towns collapsed to reveal humanity's true defensive capability. But the biggest surprise was yet to come. Earth's moon, which had looked like the same dead rock it had always been, began to change. The familiar craters and grey plains that humans had gazed at for thousands of years started moving. What everyone thought was the moon's natural surface was actually an incredibly sophisticated disguise. Colonel Ominsic watched from his command post inside what used to be called the Sea of Tranquility. The moon wasn't just hollow. It was a massive weapons platform that humanity had been building in secret since the 1970s. Every moon landing, every space mission, every satellite launch had been cover for the real work happening up here. Outer. Shell separation in 3, 2, 1. His weapons officer announced. The moon's fake surface peeled away like the skin of an orange, revealing a battle station that dwarfed anything the aliens had ever seen. Weapons that could punch holes through planets emerged from hidden compartments. Energy collectors that had been disguised as craters began powering up systems that made the aliens' technology look like stone tools. Commander Talvex watched in growing horror as his fleet found itself surrounded. What he had thought was empty space around Earth was actually filled with hidden defense platforms. Hundreds of them materialized as their camouflage systems shut down. They had been there all along, invisible to his scanners, waiting silently for this moment. "How is this possible?" he whispered, his 4 eyes wide with shock. "Our intelligence report said these humans barely had space travel." His science officer, trembling with fear, checked the readings again. "Sir, these weapons are generating energy signatures we've never seen before. Some of this technology is centuries ahead of our own." The truth was starting to dawn on Commander. Talvex. Humanity hadn't been hiding because they were weak. They had been hiding because they were incredibly, terrifyingly strong. Earth wasn't a primitive planet waiting to be conquered. It was the most heavily fortified world in the galaxy, and his fleet had just flown straight into the most sophisticated trap ever built. Lieutenant Choi Sua was coordinating the activation sequence from her station buried beneath Mount Fuji in Japan. Around her, screens showed defense systems coming online all across the solar system. What the aliens thought were asteroids were actually weapons platforms. What looked like space junk was actually the most advanced surveillance network ever created. "All Ghost satellites are dropping their disguises now," she reported. "Phantom Defense Grid is fully operational." The aliens watched in terror as the space around Earth filled with weapons they couldn't understand. Humanity had taken 70 years to prepare for this moment, and they had used every single day wisely. Every piece of primitive technology the aliens had seen was actually a carefully designed deception. Earth's real technology made the Kelvarian Empire look like children, playing with toy weapons. Director Park Ji-ho smiled as he watched the alien fleet realize they had made the biggest mistake in galactic history. These invaders had come expecting to find helpless prey. Instead, they had found the apex predators of the galaxy, and those predators were finally ready to show their teeth. The hunt was about to begin. The battle that followed would be remembered throughout the galaxy for thousands of years, but it lasted only 17 minutes and 34 seconds. Colonel Ominsik stood in the command center of Lunar Base, watching as his screens lit up with targeting information from across the solar system. Every weapon platform, every hidden satellite, every secret defense system that humanity had built over the past 7 decades was now under his control. "All stations report ready, sir," his tactical officer announced. "We have complete targeting solutions on all 800 enemy vessels." Colonel O looked at the faces of his crew. These weren't soldiers who had trained for war their whole lives. They were teachers, engineers, doctors, and scientists who had volunteered to defend their homeworld. His own daughter was down on Earth, probably watching the sky and wondering if Daddy was going to come home. "Remember," he said quietly to his team, "these aliens destroyed Europa Station and killed 43 innocent people. They came here to enslave or destroy every human being on Earth. They had their chance to leave peacefully." He pressed a single red button on his console. What happened next defied everything the Kelvarian Empire thought they knew about warfare. The first weapons to fire were the kinetic railguns hidden beneath Earth's surface. These weren't the simple, magnetic cannons that primitive civilizations usually built. Humanity had perfected the science of accelerating metal projectiles to incredible speeds. The tungsten slugs that erupted from Earth's surface were moving at 30% the speed of light. Commander Talvex watched in disbelief as his mighty flagship's shields, which could deflect planet-killing energy beams, simply vanished when the human projectiles hit them. The metal slugs passed through his ship's armor like it was made of paper, tearing massive holes through deck after deck. "Impossible!" he screamed at his weapons officer. "How can primitive kinetic weapons penetrate our defenses?" But there was no time to figure out the answer. More weapons were firing now. Captain Kim Min-ho activated the Pacific Deep Systems from his underwater command center. What rose from the ocean floor weren't missiles or energy weapons, but something the aliens had never encountered before. Quantum. Disruptor fields spread out from Earth like invisible waves, and every Kelvarian ship they touched simply stopped working. The aliens watched in horror as entire squadrons of their warships went dark. Their engines died. Their weapons powered down, their life support systems failed. The quantum fields were disrupting the fundamental forces that held their technology together. "Sir, we're losing ships faster than we can count them," reported the tactical officer on the Kelvarian flagship, his voice cracking with panic. Whatever these humans are using, our shields are useless against it. But the worst was yet to come. Lieutenant Choi Sua initiated the lunar weapon systems from her station inside the moon. The battle station that had been disguised as humanity's natural satellite revealed its true purpose. Energy beams that could cut through the cores of planets lanced out toward the alien fleet. These weren't simple laser weapons. Humanity had learned to weaponize the same forces that powered stars. When the stellar-class energy beams hit the Kelvarian dreadnoughts, the massive alien ships didn't just explode. They were completely vaporized, turned into clouds of glowing atoms that scattered across space. Commander Talvex realized that his fleet wasn't just losing the battle. They were being systematically exterminated. In less than 10 minutes, over half of his 800 ships had been destroyed or disabled. The humans weren't just winning. They were demonstrating a level of military technology that made the Kelvarian Empire look like cave dwellers throwing rocks. "All ships, retreat," he screamed into his communicator. "Emergency jump to hyperspace. Get us out of here." But even retreat wasn't going to save them. Major Lee Deun smiled grimly as she watched the surviving alien ships try to escape. From her command center deep beneath the Colorado Mountains, she activated humanity's most terrifying weapon, the hyperspace interdiction field. The fleeing Kelvarian ships tried to jump to faster-than-light travel, but nothing happened. Their hyperspace engines fired. Energy built up in their jump cores, but they remained trapped in normal space like flies in a spider's web. "What's happening?" Commander Talvex demanded of his navigation officer. "Why aren't we jumping?" "Sir, something is preventing hyperspace travel. It's like space itself is being held in place around us." The truth was even worse than he imagined. Humanity hadn't just built weapons to destroy ships in normal space. They had learned to control hyperspace itself, trapping their enemies like fish in a barrel. Director Park Ji-ho watched the massacre from his underground facility in Seoul. Part of him felt sad about the destruction, but he remembered the 43 researchers who had died at Europa Station. He thought about what would have happened to Earth's 8 billion people if these aliens had succeeded in their invasion. "Target the command ship," he ordered. "Let's send a message that the rest of the galaxy will understand." The Dominions. Resthe, Commander Talvex's mighty flagship, found itself caught in a tractor beam of impossible strength. A massive alien warship, which had conquered dozens of worlds, was slowly being crushed like an empty can. Commander Talvex had just enough time to realize that humanity wasn't just another primitive species to be conquered. They were the apex, predators of the galaxy, and they had finally decided to reveal themselves. The battle was over. Earth had won. The silence after the battle was deafening. Where moments before there had been 800 massive alien warships, now there was only glowing debris scattered across the dark void of space. A few dozen damaged Kelvarian ships drifted helplessly, their crews alive but completely powerless. Director Park Ji-ho stood in his command center, looking at the screens that showed the complete destruction of the invasion fleet. Around him, his staff was quiet, almost in shock at what they had just accomplished. They had spent their entire lives preparing for this moment, but seeing it actually happen felt surreal. "Sir," Lieutenant Kim Hana called from her communications station, "we're receiving surrender signals from the surviving alien vessels. They're requesting mercy." Park nodded slowly. "Patch me through to their command ship. It's time for the galaxy to learn the truth about humanity." On the bridge of what remained of the Dominion's wrath, Commander Talvex sat in his command chair, his 4 eyes staring at the deck in defeat. His mighty fleet was gone. His empire's reputation for invincibility was shattered. And worst of all, he now understood that humanity was not the primitive species his intelligence reports had claimed. The human transmission came through clearly on his damaged communication system. The voice was calm, measured, and absolutely terrifying in its quiet confidence. "Commander Talvex, this is Director Park Ji-ho of Earth. You and your remaining crews will be treated according to the laws of war. You will not be harmed if you cooperate. But first, you're going to help us send a message to the rest of the galaxy. What happened next would change galactic civilization forever." Admiral Han Soo-young joined Director Park in front of the captured alien communication array. She was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, but she wore the uniform of Earth's true military. a force that had remained hidden from the galaxy for over 3 centuries. Her family had been part of the secret defense program since her great-great-grandmother had first spotted strange lights in the sky back in 1947. "People of the galaxy," Director Park began, his words being broadcast through the Kelvarian Empire's own communication networks. "My name is Park Jiho, and I speak for the human species of Earth. Today you have witnessed something that we hoped would never be necessary." The message was being transmitted to thousands of worlds, reaching civilizations that had never even heard of humanity before. In the great cities of the Andorian Federation, beings stopped their daily activities to listen. On the trading worlds of the Outer Rim, merchants gathered around communication screens. Even in the heart of the galactic core, ancient species that had seen empires rise and fall turned their attention to this small blue world that had just destroyed the most powerful military force in known space. Admiral Han stepped forward, her voice carrying the weight of generations of preparation. "For over 300 years, we have watched your civilizations grow and develop. We have seen empires built on conquest and aggression. We have witnessed worlds destroyed and species enslaved, and we made a choice." The images accompanying her words showed the true scope of humanity's hidden preparations. Massive construction projects that had been disguised as simple industrial development. The hollowing out of Earth's moon, presented to the galaxy as a natural satellite. The creation of weapons technology that was centuries ahead of anything known to galactic science. "We chose to prepare in secret," Admiral Han continued, "not because we were afraid, but because we hoped this day would never come. We wanted to give the galaxy a chance to find a better way than endless war and conquest." Captain Kim Minho joined them from his underwater facility, still wearing his naval uniform soaked with seawater from the emergency surface protocols. Behind him, the screens showed the quantum disruptor weapons that had disabled entire squadrons. 12 alien ships in seconds. "The Kelvarian Empire came to our world with demands for surrender," he said. "They destroyed one of our research stations and killed 43 innocent people. They believed we were helpless because we appeared primitive. They were wrong." The broadcast continued as more of Earth's defenders joined the transmission. Colonel O. Minsick spoke from the moon, explaining how humanity had turned their natural satellite into the most powerful weapons platform in the galaxy. Major Lee Dion described the hyperspace interdiction technology that had prevented the alien fleet from escaping. But it was Director Park who delivered the message that would echo throughout the galaxy for generations to come. "We want the galaxy to understand something very important," he said, his voice carrying absolute authority. "Humanity seeks peace. We have no desire to conquer other worlds or build an empire. We want to trade, to learn, to grow alongside our galactic neighbors, in friendship and cooperation." He paused, looking directly into the camera, and his next words sent chills through every listening civilization. "But we will not tolerate aggression against Earth or her people. We gave the Kelvarian Empire a single warning, one chance to withdraw, peacefully. They chose to ignore that warning and attack our world. The result is what you see before you. The images of the destroyed fleet filled screens across the galaxy. 800 of the most advanced warships ever built, reduced to glowing debris in less than 18 minutes. This is our promise to the galaxy," Director Park continued. "Approach Earth in peace, and you will find friends eager to share knowledge and culture. Come to our world as traders, as explorers, as scientists seeking to learn, and you will be welcomed with open arms." His expression hardened, and his voice took on a tone that made even the bravest alien warriors feel afraid. "But come to Earth as conquerors, and you will face the same fate as the Kelvarian Empire. We do not make empty threats. We do not negotiate with invaders. We give one warning and one warning only." The transmission ended with a simple image. Earth, small and blue and beautiful, floating peacefully in space. But now every civilization in the galaxy knew the truth. This small world wasn't a helpless target waiting to be conquered. It was home to the most dangerous predators the galaxy had ever seen, and they were watching. Always watching. The message spread from world to world, from system to system, from empire to empire. The age of galactic conquest was over. Humanity had made sure of that. In the years that followed, Earth became known throughout the galaxy not as a primitive backwater, but as the world that had single-handedly ended the era of military expansion. Trade ships began arriving at Earth's orbital stations, bringing gifts and requests for friendship. Scientists came to study at human universities. Diplomats came to learn how humanity had achieved such advanced technology while maintaining peace. But the galaxy also remembered the warning, and no one was ever foolish enough to test it again. The humans had spoken, and the galaxy had listened.